Welcome for those just joining. We are going to get started now. So welcome. And first, we just want to congratulate you on your admission to Merrimack. We had a record number of applications this year, but you really stood out to us as someone that would make a wonderful contribution to our campus community. So we wanted to do this session to congratulate you, but also give you a little sense of what we have to offer at Merrimack. So today I'm joined by my colleague Maggie in ISS and two of our current international students, Maria and Sky. So I'll have them introduce themselves in a moment, but we're going to go ahead and get started. So just to kick it off, what we're going to discuss today, we're going to talk a little bit about the F1 student visa process. So those of you joining are F1 students, so we want to make sure that you know all of the next steps should you decide to enroll at Merrimack, or if you're already a deposited student, you can kind of have an understanding of what will come next. And then Maggie's going to introduce herself and provide an overview of international student support, our office, and the different services that we provide to students. So this will be kind of a short piece, and then we're going to turn it over to Sky and Maria, and I'm going to lead a panel where we ask them some questions. I also do want to let everyone know there is a Q&A box, so if there are any questions on your mind, you can type right into that box. Maggie will be answering any specific questions, but also if there's anything that you want to ask the panelists kind of as we go, you can put those questions in the box and we'll make sure to answer them for you or get back to you after if you have a very specific question. So just to get started, we're just going to review the different requirements that you'll need to receive what's called a Form I-20. So that is the document that you would need to take with you when you schedule your visa appointment. So the three main pieces that we will need for you to submit is a copy of your valid passport. So that does have to be valid, and you should have at least 6 months until the expiration date. So if for some reason you don't have a passport, you should definitely make sure you're starting that application process, or if your passport is expired or is expiring, make sure that you take the steps to renew it, because that will be a requirement. We also require the declaration of finance form. So this is a Merrimack specific form that lists out all of the costs of the program that you're completing. And then you have the ability to list out any aid you've received. So that could be a merit scholarship, that could be an athletic scholarship, and then the difference of the funding sources. So you would have to show that you can cover the full cost of attendance for one academic year. And that form is available on your admission portal, also available on our website. And you can also reach out to us if you have any questions about how to complete that. In addition to the form that you'll fill out, you'll also want to send an accompanying notarized bank letter. So this would be a letter from the bank just indicating sufficient funds that you can cover the cost of 1 year of study at Merrimack. And all of that is on the declaration of finance form. For the notarized bank letter, you can get that from a bank. That could be from a family member, parent, sponsor. You could also show proof of securing a loan from your home country. That's something that students will do. Maybe your government has scholarships that they're providing you. So any of those options work. For the bank letter itself, it should be in the form of easy liquefiable asset. So something that can be converted into cash. So if you have any questions about those requirements, definitely feel free to reach out to us, and we'll be able to help guide you through that. So once those documents are on file, the next step is that we will send you your certificate of eligibility, or the Form I-20. So there's kind of two tracks for this. So there's students that are outside of the US that do not have an F1 student visa at the present time. So for those students, they are able to essentially, once we give you your I-20, it's your responsibility to then schedule an appointment at the nearest US embassy or consulate. So you do those appointments scheduling online. Different countries will have different wait times, so we'll work with you on kind of the best locations to go. And if you have any questions about that, we'll be able to help direct you. From there, you would be able to schedule your visa appointment, and then they will mail back your documents with your F1 student visa. For students that are already studying on an F1 visa, so you could be at a high school here in the US, you could be at another college or university in the US, you may be at a language program, really any school or organization that has issued you that F1 student visa, you can do what's called a SEVIS transfer. So we would transfer your CVIS record, you would work with the DSO at your current school to select the end date of your program. So that's typically when you're graduating or when you're completing your language school or the end of the semester that you're enrolled in if you're a transfer student. So once you kind of work with your DSO and identify that date, they would release the record to us. And then at that point, we're able to issue you your I-20. So kind of two different tracks depending on if you're in the US or not. So I know we have some students that are out of the US, some students that are already here. We're also happy to kind of help advise you through that process. So do reach out if you have any questions. For students that are in the US, you will have a CVIS transfer form that's on your admission portal as well. So totally optional if you'd like to use it, but it does help you kind of notify your current school and DSO about your intent to transfer and what that date would be. So you're welcome to utilize that if that makes it easier for you or for your current school. And then the last step for those that are outside of the US would be to make an appointment at the nearest US embassy or consulate. And we do want to note that Canadian students do not need a visa to study, but they do need the I-20. And then you do need to pay the CVIS fee. So that should be done in advance of either making your visa appointment, or for Canadians, you want to make sure to do it in advance of entering the US, and always keep a copy of your receipt. So that's a little bit just about the process. We'll follow up with everyone that is a deposited student individually to let you know kind of what you're missing, what you need to do. And then when we send the I-20, we put in writing all of the next steps for you. So you should get all that information, but don't hesitate to reach out with questions. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Maggie, who's going to introduce herself and her role in the office and talk a little bit about International Student Support Services.
Hi, thanks for joining us today. My name is Maggie Avery, and I am Senior Assistant Director of International Admission and Global Engagement. I primarily work with our F1 students on compliance and advising for everything from pre-arrival through post-graduation work or graduate school plans. So to provide a little bit of an overview of the services that our office provides, you will be asked to complete some MAC tasks if you have deposited to Merrimack. So those will help you with things like submitting your math assessment, your housing questionnaire, and all of that will be in your portal. You'll also receive a lot of good information on pre-arrival, things you need to know about housing, health records, just kind of all those things that you would need to know before coming to Merrimack. So those will be communicated to you through your email address. So just make sure to keep an eye on your email for all of that important information. A major thing that our International Student Support Office does is advising on F1 compliance. So that is kind of everything from enrollment compliance, making sure that you're enrolled in enough credits on campus, registering for internships correctly, on-campus work, anything that you might have questions about. Can I do this as an F1 student? That's what our office is here to help you with. So we do advise on internships and applying for CPT or curricular practical training, and you will hear from Sky and Maria shortly about some fun and interesting opportunities that they have had here. We also advise on employment and OPT for after graduation. So we will help you through that process of applying for OPT. And we do provide information sessions multiple times each semester for students to learn more about CPT and OPT, how to apply for those, and so on. And then at Merrimack, we do have several offices that collaborate on providing cultural programming and events for our students. So specifically, the Unity House, Maria is very familiar with the Unity House and can provide more information on that. But we love collaborating with them. Some things we do are international coffee and tea hours. We've done International Friendsgiving, trying to think of some different things. There's a lot of various activities we do, especially throughout International Education Week, which takes place every November. And then we do have an orientation for our first year and transfer students. So that takes place before the start of the semester, where you'll learn everything there is to know about Merrimack, and there are plenty of resources on campus to help you with that, including Welcome Week. There is international student-specific sessions within that orientation as well, where you'll hear from Rachel and I about additional things you'll need to know as an F1 student here at Merrimack.
Awesome. Thank you, Maggie. So at this point, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so you can see everyone's faces. So we are going to jump into our student panel. So I will have our panelists introduce themselves. So for Sky and Maria, could you share kind of your name, your major, minor, and home country, just so everyone knows kind of who we're talking to?
I'm gonna go first. My name is Sky. I'm a junior at the moment studying mechanical engineering with a minor in math, and I'm from Johannesburg, South Africa.
Thanks, Kai. Hi, I'm Maria. I am a chemistry major, data science and mathematics minors. I'm also a junior, and I'm from Ukraine.
Awesome. Thank you. So thinking back a few years to kind of pre-arrival before you came to campus, can you maybe think of when you first decided to attend Merrimack? What factors made you choose Merrimack? And then what was something that might have been helpful in preparing for your arrival?
So I'm gonna go first there too. So I am a recruited student athlete, which a couple of people might be in that same position. The way that I sort of found Merrimack was just through my recruiting process, which was a bit unique to nowadays because it was through COVID. But I did end up deciding to go with Merrimack just because of location. It's quite close to Boston and Massachusetts. I like that. And also the fact that it offered engineering, which is my major, and it was one of my biggest priorities when deciding on schools, and something that just was helpful in preparing to come to campus. I had to go through applying for my visa back home and all that, and my advisor that I had at admissions was just making sure that I was getting all the documents I needed to, which was pretty helpful, and also my coach who helped me at the time.
And my story is a little different because I was already in the US when I was applying to Merrimack. I spent a year in high school in New Hampshire, which is just next to Massachusetts, where Merrimack is, like half an hour down the street, which was one of the reasons I really considered Merrimack. It was nice because I felt like I already knew the area and I really liked being in New England. Definitely having Boston nearby is a great advantage, especially when you're in a STEM field. And my final thing that really made me make a decision was how much support Merrimack offered. I definitely had a challenging year in the US in high school, so I really wanted a place that will give me support and kind of hold my hand through everything. And Merrimack was just that.
Well, we're very happy that we have you both on campus. You both are fantastic. Kind of after pre-arrival, thinking about orientation and campus resources. For the new student orientation, what type of information did you find helpful during your time? And then what resources on campus have been helpful as an international student?
As I said, resources was really what I chose Merrimack for. So definitely orientation was very helpful with outlining everything Merrimack has to offer and how to get all the help you might need at some point, even if it's not at the beginning, but like years in. International orientation was also nice because you got to meet other international students. That's how I met Sky for the first time. And we kind of keep seeing each other on campus, but the first time we met was at the orientation. And orientation was also the time when I realized I want to be an orientation leader. So that was also my big involvement after freshman year. And that was how I found all of my friends. So definitely big shout out to orientation.
Yeah, I'd say my experience is a little different because when I arrived, they split everyone into orientation groups based on like something, maybe your major and all that. And I wasn't really put with my group for my major initially. So it's a little different. But something that I did find really useful my first year when I got here was my first year experience class, which has slightly changed for the incoming freshmen. But basically, that whole class for me was all internationals. So it's where I met my best friends for today. And we were just a class of internationals, and it was really, really nice to be able to connect with each other at least once a week to go over that kind of stuff.
Awesome. Thank you. Shifting gears to Merrimack events and traditions, could you each share maybe one of your favorite traditions on campus, and then also maybe give some examples of different events that you've attended on campus that you've enjoyed?
Maggie already touched on Unity House, but that's where I'm sitting right now. Unity House is an office. We do put on events, but it's also just a house that Merrimack bought a couple years ago, and they redid it so students could have access to it. And it's a really nice third space that's a little more cozy and homey than other spaces on campus, like the library. But they're also not your dorm, so if you ever want to get out but still have some homey feel, Unity House is here for you. We do a lot of food related events. We do what's called Taste the World, and that is probably my favorite tradition when we order catering from local restaurants and we're trying cuisines from all around the world. Um, yeah, that's probably my favorite, but we do so many more things, and it is also a job on campus, so also a way to make a little money while you're still in school.
Yeah, then I'd say for me, some of the traditions I really do like is at the start of the year when it's still nice and warm. There's a lot of big organized events with the Office of Student Involvement. So around like the football games and all that. And I never watched football or knew anything about it. So for an international, it was just nice for me to go to the events and just be a part of those events. They like close off one of the streets and do like food trucks and all that for some of the meals. And they also put a lot of effort into like Thanksgiving and Christmas around that time, which like internationals, quite a lot of people don't go home. So it's kind of nice having those things before and after that just make being on campus less like school and more like where you live too. So I definitely do appreciate all those little events on the weekends.
Awesome. Thinking about, you both alluded to having on-campus jobs and experiences. I know a lot of folks in the audience are looking at opportunities to work on campus. So can you talk a little bit about how you found your positions and then what type of work you do in those roles?
Yeah, so I'm gonna go first there. Both Maria and I were talking about this beforehand, but we both work several different campus jobs. Nearly everything like resource-wise on campus is run by students, which is pretty cool. So literally from my first semester here, it was a bit slow to get a job as a first semester freshman because those jobs are already filled. But by the spring, I was already working as an admissions ambassador, so the people who give tours to prospective students. And then with engineering and STEM and all that later on, I picked up tutoring. I work as a student athlete. I work with the games, so I'll sometimes be in the penalty box for hockey or mopping the floor for basketball, which is kind of fun. But yeah, there's so many different jobs, and all of those I work at different hours. One of my newer jobs right now is I do undergraduate research with with the School of Engineering, which is I'm actually in the lab right now. But for internationals, I work almost, if you want to, you can work almost the maximum 20 hours a week. But you can also do only 1 or 2 hours, but there's always something on campus for internationals, which is quite kind of nice.
Yeah, and all the jobs are posted on the same website. So that is also very convenient. You can just go on the website and keep scrolling until you find something you like. I do mostly jobs that have some sort of tutoring in them. Obviously, I work at the Unity House, Office of Intercultural Initiatives, but all my other jobs are being a teaching assistant for different classes, tutoring together with Sky, and um, honestly, from year to year, sometimes my jobs change. I sometimes drop something, sometimes pick up something new, and I love that about Merrimack, that it is very flexible and you can choose what you truly enjoy and what doesn't really feel like working because you do work with other students. So it honestly just feels like helping your friends out other than working for the money.
Awesome. So outside of your campus jobs, could you talk a little bit about your other involvements on campus and then maybe how easy it was or how you were inspired to get involved in those opportunities?
Yeah, so for myself, obviously I'd mentioned I'm an athlete, so I am training mostly 20 hours a week when I'm in season. The nice thing is though with rowing is that we're very, very early in the morning. So I do have a lot of time in the rest of the day to do stuff, and outside of my jobs, I have been involved in a couple of clubs. I'm at the moment in American Society for Mechanical Engineers. Sometimes I attend other club events for more like fun things. So like billiards club, they have they play billiards once a week, which is kind of fun. But personally, yeah, there's a lot of other involvements, but initially in your first week as a first year here, there's an involvement fair where all the clubs come out, including rowing, because we recruit walk-ons. And I think I signed up for like 5 or 6 of them, maybe only attended 3, but they were nice fun things that you can join or leave anytime. So
I wasn't an athlete, so I definitely had way more free time to fill it in with different extracurriculars. And first thing I got involved with was honors program. Merrimack does have a lot of cohorts, so it's like Austin Scholars, honors. There is a lot more now, especially for incoming students. So definitely just getting involved with those was really nice because for honors, we also live together. Um, so that was first thing, and then once I found friends there and kind of got a little more comfortable on campus, I also joined student government, which is actually an organization that oversees other clubs. So we are the ones who putting on the involvement fair that Sky just mentioned. And now I've been a president of student government for a year, and I'm going to be a president next year again. So that is definitely something I really enjoyed and stuck with. But there was also a bunch of other clubs that I just casually come to some meetings. Sometimes I skip their meetings. But just knowing that there's always something going on campus helps. And obviously just hanging out with your friends in their clubs is the best part.
Thank you. Thinking about, students are looking for advising, support, mentorship. Could you share a story or some information about an advisor you've worked with at Merrimack? It could be a faculty advisor, career advisor, coach, mentor, really anything, and just talk about what that's been like for you.
yeah, so obviously a big one for me has been my coaches when I've been here as an athlete. But I'd say an even bigger phenomenal group of people who've helped me have been in my school, so of engineering. I have a really, really good mentor who's one of the professors here, who's helped me a lot, especially over the last year or so while I've been looking for internships, and working post-graduation, and they've really been helping me so much, and that's something I've really enjoyed about the school, because the professors want to help you and they want to be forming those relationships with you one-on-one, which is kind of nice. Also are just general career advisors and course advisors who just keep you on track for all your courses. I arrived in the US, I didn't even know how the system worked, how the semester classes, GPA, all of that. I didn't know anything about that. Because South Africa is very, very different, which a lot of people might relate to. So I had someone who sort of broke it down, just explained how everything worked. And yeah, I definitely say that in your schools, those individual advisors have been the biggest help for me.
And definitely, Merrimack is a very personable place. Everybody wants to get to know you. We're very community focused, community based. So it's not just superficial where you get assigned one advisor and that's the only person you can get help from. It's more of whoever you open up to, they will make sure that they will do anything they can to help you and just make sure that you feel comfortable with where you are at and what your future plans are. Some of the advisors I had, obviously my student government advisor, he was always there for me when I felt like I was challenged by my leadership roles, but also our international student advisors, they're always there when you feel confused or concerned about anything. They've had so much experience, so obviously just going to them and hearing second opinion, and sometimes it's just like, yeah, you're fine, like everything's going to be okay, is just what you need. And so we're very fortunate with having that.
Yeah, and I'd also add that a bigger group of people that really did help was also internationals who are already here themselves. People who help you do your taxes for the first time, or applying for a job, or filling out all the paperwork as an international, because Merrimack is majority, it is a larger population of US citizens, obviously. So it's nice when you have a couple of those internationals who really have gone through it already and can help you with that. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Thinking about the classroom experience, I know you guys have some similar majors in the STEM fields, but different majors. Could you talk about what the classroom experience is like and how you've been able to build relationships with your faculty members?
I absolutely love my program. I cannot stop talking about how much I love chemistry faculty. They're just those type of people who will never say no to you if they know you need help. No matter if I catch them at the dining hall or just walking on the street, or if they're actually in their office, they will stop and they will help me until I actually understand everything fully and I have no more questions. And that is something we sometimes take for granted, but they do put so much effort into making sure that they're available. So it's not just you showing up to class, it's pretty much anytime you need any sort of help, faculty is there for you. Um, right now I'm a junior, so I have a whole another year left at Merrimack, but I've already done research, I've already done several internships, and all of that is thanks to my faculty and how much effort they put into developing all of us, both like students and like professionals.
Yeah, and I'd say I've had a pretty similar experience. With engineering specifically, we have quite a few professors that you'll see once or twice at least over the 4 years. And that does happen in a lot of other departments across school. So you definitely do have the chance to form a relationship with a professor and be able to reach out to them pretty comfortably a few years later if you need extra help. I definitely also say that what I've really enjoyed over the last year or so is that if there's been any issue or anything in the classroom or any sort of scheduling issue or conflict or whatever, the department really does work with you to do that. It's not just talking to a brick wall if you have an issue. It's how can we help you because you are our students here. We want to see you succeed. So that's definitely been something that really helped. We had like scheduling conflicts last semester and other conflicts, and that was something that we as students were able to talk to our department and they made that fix. So it was really good because it's more student focused.
So we know a lot of folks in the audience are interested in experiential learning, which is so important, kind of applying what you're learning in the classroom in the real world. So you've both alluded to some internship and research experiences. So can you share kind of what those experiences looked like for you?
Yeah, so I was looking for, so as an engineering major, you're generally recommended to get an internship after your sophomore year because then you sort of have enough experience. But having said this, sophomore year, it's also a difficult year to get experience as an engineer in general because of you don't necessarily have a lot and you're competing with juniors who have a whole extra year. So that was definitely a challenging experience last year. But I ended up getting an internship pretty late into the summer, but thanks to my professor. And then going into this year, I think I applied for like 50 or so internships, which nowadays that is sort of how it's going. And you get those automated emails back. And the 2 internships that I ended up getting interviews with were ones that I ended up networking with through Merrimack led events. I think that's just the general trend of how things are going nowadays in the career center. So if you actually network with someone directly, you're more likely to get that interview. And thanks to those events that were planned through the engineering department, I was able to make those connections. So, yeah.
Definitely second everything that Sky said. That is a very prominent trend right now. You apply to a lot of places and then you end up getting something where you know people. My freshman year, I interned at Boston University with a PhD advisor. So I was an undergrad with a bunch of other PhD candidates, which was definitely very challenging, but I got there because I knew the PhD advisor. And it was an incredible experience for sure, even though it was very challenging. And then after my sophomore year, I interned at a company right next to Merrimack. It's like 10 minutes down the road. And I got there again just because uh, an alum from Merrimack is working there now. And it's also 10 minutes down the road. So a lot of people from Merrimack end up working there for a little bit at one point. So I worked there for the whole summer. And then now I just had a final interview with them this week and hoping to hear back in a couple of days about this summer again with a more lab focused chemistry job. So Merrimack definitely helps a lot with getting jobs and just having that extra little bit of network, but also just support along the way.
Yeah. Thinking about, a lot of students in the audience may be a little bit nervous about making the choice to study abroad. Could you talk about some of the benefits that you found by studying abroad, moving out of your comfort zone? Anything that you can speak to there?
Yeah, so I definitely think the people who aren't in the US already can sort of relate to my story and hear from my experience. So I had only visited the US once before coming. That was like 10 years before I arrived here. And as I said, I was like sort of recruited through COVID, so I didn't even come visit before I moved in. I literally just moved in, saw the school, and that was that. And I definitely say a little bit of like experience and just advice. Being homesick is so normal. I wanted to go home so badly after the first semester, especially as internationals, it gets a bit tough because a lot of students here leave on the weekends to go home because they're only an hour or two away from home. And you stay unless you're planning to fly home. And that definitely was a big adjustment. And I'd say after that first semester, though, I came back for my second semester after spending some time at home, and it sort of like felt a lot better. You already knew some people, you've already been situated. I went home for the summer following my freshman year, and after I spent that full 3 months at home, I was so ready to come back that I actually ended up spending a full 11 months in a row here in the US. I ended up staying over the summer and staying on campus as an international. You're allowed to do that. There's ways to figure that out, and I definitely say this year I'm planning to stay over the summer as well. So definitely studying abroad in general, I think, is a big adjustment, but once you sort of settle into the area, you form those networks. It's pretty it's an experience that I definitely don't regret doing and deciding to do.
Yeah, Sky and I talked about that earlier, and it really turned from being homesick to not even feeling like you're abroad anymore. Sometimes it just feels right. That just where we're supposed to be. And these are the people who are our friends, and honestly, at this point, even chosen family. So it is challenging at first. In my first year in the US was so, so challenging. But Merrimack was a wonderful time, and just it is a smaller campus. You get to know a majority of people pretty quickly, especially if you get involved. So it's just where we are supposed to be at this point. It's just our place.
Yeah, and going off of that, we said we didn't even feel like studying abroad is the right term for it. I mean, I've had family move where I am at home, so like going back home wouldn't even be the same for me anyways. But I'm a year out from graduating almost, and to me it's almost like sad to think because then I'll be leaving the home I've just made here. And as Maria said, you get to know a lot of people on campus, but we're the right kind of size that you'll still not know some people when you're walking around campus, but you'll still also be able to run into some people you know. And especially being an international, for those who would not be going home on the breaks and everything, the campus does become quite quiet. And what I've really enjoyed is that it does feel like home, not just where you're studying, even though you're living on the same property. It really, you do have that balance between being a student and just regularly living on campus, which is pretty nice.
And you definitely get a good mixture of sometimes people are leaving and you stay on campus and it's quiet and you get all your work done. But sometimes, like, I know my friends would bring me with them for Thanksgiving, especially because it's not something big for where I'm from, but it's definitely very big to them. And even a lot of parents of my friends are like, "What do you mean she's staying alone? Bring her with you." So it's home at this point.
So thank you. So for our last question, do you have any parting advice for students in the audience, how to kind of make the most of their experience at Merrimack?
Yeah, I would say just trust the process. I think for every student, even people who commute, people who live 20 minutes away, moving to college is a big change for everyone. So when, I had a roommate who lived 30 minutes away from campus, my freshman year, and she would be going home all the time. And I was like, how are you struggling when I'm so far away too? And everyone's going through the same sort of thing. And then it becomes easier for everyone eventually. And I definitely say like stick it out. But also know that it takes time for everyone to find their network and sort of get yourself situated here. But also, yeah, Merrimack just has enough support that if you reach out to the right people, you'll be able to fix any issues.
And I would definitely say trust the process, but also get excited. because that excitement, that's what's gonna get you through all the hard moments and challenging moments, because just remembering why you're doing this and how much you're gonna benefit from the wonderful experiences you're gonna get here. Just yeah, think about all the things that motivate you, that inspire you, and get excited. It's gonna be so much fun, and you will enjoy it way more than you'll have to deal with challenges and struggles.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Sky. Thank you, Maria. We really appreciate your insights. I know all of the students watching really like to hear from current students, be able to kind of see themselves at Merrimack. So we appreciate all of the insight that you've provided us. So at this point, we're going to wrap up. So I'm going to share some next steps with you all. So some things that you can do now. So we do understand some folks are local. So if you are local to campus, definitely feel free to come to campus, schedule a tour, find a time to come down. We have tours and information sessions multiple times a day, including Saturdays. We also have a really big admitted student day coming up. So we'll be sending more information about that. And that's an even more in-depth look at campus. So if you are local enough or you can take the flight, definitely feel free to come to campus. Would love to have you. If you are further away and traveling is a challenge, we totally understand. So we do have a really great virtual tour. You can kind of walk through it, walk around the buildings, learn about the different spaces. So that is linked here, and we'll send a follow-up email with that. Also, for those of you who are definitely planning to commit to Merrimack, you could submit your enrollment deposit and start getting in your documents needed for the I-20, and then Maggie and I will be in touch about those next steps. And if you do have any questions, the International Student Support Office is iss@merrimack.edu. So please don't hesitate to reach out. Maggie and I are here to help answer your questions. If you have questions for Sky and Maria, you can also send those our way, and we're happy to get you more information. I know they have a lot of valuable insight. So thank you all for joining. We hope you choose Merrimack, and please reach out if you need anything.